What would you do if the person you trusted most suddenly looked at you in a way that changed everything? This isn't just a story about basketball practice. This is about boundaries blurred, hearts tested, and the kind of love that feels both impossible and inevitable. Welcome to today's BL Webtoon love story, a yaoi romance where a quiet student and his coach discover that sometimes the rules aren't strong enough to keep love away. The story begins with Jaemin, 17 years old, a student with quiet eyes, soft-spoken, someone who blends into the background far too easily. He's not the star athlete. He's not the loudest voice in the locker room. He's the one who lingers behind, picking up basketballs left scattered across the court, folding jerseys no one else bothers to fold, wiping down benches long after practice ends. Why does he do it? Not for recognition, not for praise, but because the gym feels like home, a place of rhythm and structure, where the sound of a bouncing ball or the squeak of sneakers is more comforting than the chaos of his life outside school. And then there's Coach Seo-jun, tall, charismatic, with a presence that commands the room the moment he steps inside. His reputation, strict, sharp, someone you don't joke with, someone who sets the rules and expects them followed. But Jaemin, he's seen more than that. He's noticed the quiet gestures, the way Seo-jun picks up a water bottle left behind and sets it neatly on the bench instead of kicking it aside. The way he lingers after practice, making sure every student has left safely before locking the gym doors. To the others, he's untouchable. To Jaemin, he's complicated. The gym at night has a different soul. Gone are the shouts, the pounding of sneakers, the echo of whistles slicing the air. What's left is silence, an echoing kind, where even the faint scratch of a broom bristle seems to carry across the polished floor. Fluorescent lights hum above, pale and harsh, but in that stillness, they glow almost warmly, like a spotlight on a stage built just for two. And maybe that's why Jaemin doesn't mind staying late. He tells himself it's habit, that he's just being responsible, tidying up after practice, sweeping the stray dust and chalk that clings stubbornly to the floor. But deep down, he knows it isn't about the broom in his hands. It's about what or who lingers on the edge of that silence. At his desk, under the same unforgiving light, sits Seo-jun, coach, mentor, the kind of man whose presence shifts the weight of a room before he even says a word. Seo-jun doesn't need to raise his voice, doesn't need to bark orders. His very existence is enough to steady or unsettle anyone around him. He carries himself with a quiet authority, the sort that can't be taught, only lived. Even now, under the harsh fluorescent glow of the gym, his presence fills the space. He's hunched slightly forward, at his desk, pen scratching steadily across a clipboard. The sound is soft, repetitive, but deliberate. Each mark seems to carry weight, as if every note matters, as if no detail about his players or practice should be overlooked. His brows furrow in concentration, lines of focus etched into his face, shadows falling across his strong features. His jacket lies draped over the back of his chair, abandoned hours ago, a subtle testament to the late hour. His shirt sleeves are rolled neatly to the elbow, practical and unpretentious, but somehow revealing more than they hide. Forearms, lean but strong, flex subtly each time his hand moves across the page. Veins trace along his skin like quiet rivers, shifting when his grip tightens or relaxes. Muscles ripple in small movements. Nothing exaggerated, nothing for show. It's the strength of someone who doesn't just teach discipline, but lives it, embodies it, carries it into every small action. And Jamin sees it, sees everything he shouldn't. He shouldn't notice the way Seojun's shoulders curve forward, broad, but unguarded in this moment of solitude. He shouldn't notice how his hair, usually immaculate during practice, has loosened, a strand falling across his forehead. He shouldn't notice the faint crease at the corner of his eyes, signs of weariness masked too well during the day but visible now when no one else is watching. But Jamin notices, because for him, the world has narrowed to this: one man, one desk, one endless silence that says more than words ever could. The broom in Jamin's hand slows against the polished floor. The bristles whisper faintly, brushing away dust that doesn't matter. His body moves out of habit, but his attention, it's elsewhere, drawn unshakably to the figure at the desk. Seojun's pen pauses, just briefly. He leans back slightly, scanning what he's written, lips pressed together in thought. The movement is simple, ordinary, but Jamin feels it, as if even the smallest gesture reverberates through the room, pulling at the fragile thread of tension strung between them. There's nothing romantic about paperwork, nothing beautiful about late-night administrative tasks. And yet, here, under these lights, it becomes something else. The air feels different, thicker. Every detail etches itself into Jamin's mind: the scratch of the pen, the faint sigh Seojun lets out, quiet but heavy with fatigue, the creak of the chair when he shifts, even the way his fingers drum absently against the clipboard for half a second before he resumes writing. It's unbearable how much Jamin notices, how much he feels in the noticing. He tells himself it's just admiration, that it's normal to look up to someone so capable, so steady, so commanding, that it's respect, nothing more. But respect doesn't make his chest tighten like this, doesn't make heat creep up his neck when Seojun rolls his shoulders back, the fabric of his shirt pulling, taut, doesn't make the silence between them hum with something unspoken, something fragile and dangerous all at once. Jamin forces his gaze back to the court, back to the broom, back to the safe rhythm of sweeping, back and forth, back and forth. If he just keeps moving, maybe the thoughts will settle, maybe the air will stop pressing against him, heavy and electric. But then Seojun shifts again, rolls his sleeve just a little higher, adjusts the way he's sitting, lifts his pen, then pauses mid-air, tapping it gently against the clipboard as though weighing a decision. And Jamin feels it, feels every motion, because Seojun isn't just a man at a desk. He's a presence, a weight, a gravity that pulls everything toward him, quietly, inevitably, including Jamin, especially Jamin. The sound of sweeping slows again. The broom, which had been moving in steady arcs across the polished floor, falters. Bristles drag awkwardly, breaking rhythm, catching against invisible lines in the wood. Jamin's grip tightens. His palms are damp, slick against the handle. He realizes, with a sudden flush of embarrassment, that his hands are trembling. Not enough for someone else to notice, but enough that he feels it. Enough that the broom is no longer just a broom. It's an anchor, the only thing keeping him grounded in a room that suddenly feels too heavy, too full. He shouldn't be this aware. Not of the way his breath hitches, not of the warmth climbing the back of his neck, not of the man at the desk, the man who isn't watching him, but whose presence feels like a weight pressed against every inch of his skin. But awareness floods him anyway, unstoppable, unshakable, like water through cracks he didn't know existed. He bites his lip and forces his arms to move again, back and forth, sweep, sweep, sweep. His movements are stiff now, mechanical, stripped of the easy rhythm he'd had only minutes earlier, and yet every sound, every breath, every shift in the room still pulls at him. The scratch of a pen, the faint creak of a chair, the rustle of paper being flipped over, settled into place. Each one slices through the silence, reverberating louder than it should, embedding itself into him like a secret he isn't supposed to keep. It's unbearable, because Jaemin doesn't just hear Seojun, he feels him. He feels the air shifting when the coach adjusts in his chair, feels the weight of unseen eyes, even when they're fixed on the clipboard, feels the subtle gravity of a presence that shouldn't matter this much, but does. Jaemin swallows hard. His throat is dry, but his heart is too loud. He tells himself it's fine, that it's just nerves, that anyone would feel this way alone in a gym, under fluorescent lights, with silence pressing down like a living thing. But he knows the truth. This isn't just silence. This isn't just nerves. It's him, Seojun, the man at the desk with rolled-up sleeves and furrowed brows. The man who commands respect without trying, who carries his authority like second nature. The man Jaemin has spent countless nights noticing in ways he shouldn't. Admiration was safe. This isn't. His hands tighten on the broom again, knuckles whitening. The tremor refuses to leave, buzzing just beneath the surface like static. It spreads through him, unrelenting. And then the pen pauses, the scratching stops, the silence shifts. Jaemin doesn't dare look up, but he feels it. The air between them changes, heavier somehow, charged in a way that makes his skin prickle. Is he being watched? The thought nearly undoes him. His stomach flips, his chest tightens, and his grip falters again. He sweeps too quickly, the broom clattering against the wall with a dull thud. The sound is sharp, echoing in the cavernous gym, breaking whatever fragile balance existed. Sorry, Jaemin mutters too quickly, too quietly. His voice cracks on the single word. He hates that it does, hates that it reveals too much. There's no response. Or maybe there is, just not in words. The chair creaks, a shift, slow, deliberate, then the faint sound of something being set down like a clipboard against wood. Jaemin's pulse spikes, his eyes fixed desperately on the floor, on the pale streaks of dust the broom has gathered. He forces himself to keep moving, even if his hands betray him. But every part of him knows Seojun has looked up, knows he isn't just a background figure anymore, knows that in this silence, in this small fracture of routine, something has shifted, and it terrifies him. Because awareness was one thing when it was one-sided, when it was just Jaemin noticing too much, feeling too much, pretending none of it mattered. But what happens when the silence isn't empty anymore? What happens when Seojun notices too? The thought coils inside him, dangerous and intoxicating all at once. Jaemin's hands tremble harder. He adjusts his grip again, squeezing the broom handle until it hurts, trying to force steadiness back into his body. He tells himself it's nothing, that he's imagining it, that Seojun is still just doing his work, still lost in notes and plans and schedules. But his body doesn't believe the lie. Every nerve is alive. Every movement in the room feels amplified. And when the sound of footsteps finally comes, measured, steady, approaching across the hardwood floor, Jaemin nearly forgets how to breathe. Seojun is moving, not staying at his desk, not leaving the gym, moving toward him. Jaemin's chest tightens. The broom jerks in his hands, sweeping clumsily, scattering dust instead of gathering it. His body doesn't know what to do, torn between the instinct to keep moving and the desperate urge to freeze. The footsteps grow closer. Each one lands with quiet authority, echoing just enough to make the gym feel smaller. the distance between them shrinking with every second. Jamin can't look up. He can't. But he feels it. Feels Seojun stop just a few steps behind him. Close enough that the silence is no longer silence. It's proximity. It's presence. It's the unbearable awareness of another body standing near enough to shift the air he breathes. Jamin's grip falters, the broom slips sliding in his damp palms. He swallows hard, the sound loud in his ears, and then, finally, Seojun's voice low, steady, controlled. Are you always this tense when you sweep? It's a joke. Light, almost teasing. But it lands differently. It cuts through Jamin's chest. Not because of what's said, but because of how it's said. Close, too close, Jamin exhales shakily. His throat tightens, words tangling before they can form. His voice breaks. He clears it quickly, tries again. I'm fine. The lie tastes bitter, because he isn't fine. Not with the way Seojun's presence looms behind him, not with the awareness burning through every vein, every nerve, every trembling muscle. There's a pause, the kind that stretches, lingers, makes silence its own language, and then, quietly, too quietly, you don't look fine. The words hang between them, neither playful nor sharp, just true. Jamin freezes. His fingers clench harder around the broom. He doesn't know what to say, doesn't know how to explain the storm inside him. But maybe he doesn't have to, because in that moment, in the silence that follows, something shifts again. Not in words, not in actions, but in awareness. Theirs, shared. And Jamin knows, no matter how tightly he grips the broom, no matter how hard he tries to steady his hands, nothing will be the same after this. And in that moment, Seojun looks up. Not a fleeting glance, not the absent scan of a coach making sure a player is still working. A look, direct, measured, heavy. Their eyes meet across the gym, one filled with fluorescent shadows, the other with nervous, breathless stillness. Jamin freezes. The broom halts mid-sweep. For a second, just a second, he thinks he sees something there. Something in Seojun's gaze that isn't coach to player, mentor to student. Something quieter, warmer, something that makes Jamin's chest ache with both fear and longing. But it's gone in an instant. Seojun blinks, lowers his gaze, and resumes writing, as if nothing happened. As if the silence hasn't changed. Except it has. The gym feels different now. The air thicker. The space between them smaller, even though it stretches across the whole court. Jamin's pulse thunders in his ears, louder than the broom, louder than the pen, louder than anything else. He forces himself to move again, sweeping clumsily, dust scattering instead of gathering. His motions lack rhythm now, betraying the storm inside, because how do you keep sweeping when every breath feels like it belongs to someone else? When every glance threatens to break something fragile inside you? When the man at the desk, the man you shouldn't be thinking about, feels closer than ever, even from across the room? Seojun shifts again. His forearms flex as he flips to a new page. His brow furrows deeper, his lips part slightly, as though he's about to speak, but he doesn't. The silence remains, and Jamin knows this is dangerous, knows it's wrong to feel this way, to let himself fall into the gravity of a man who shouldn't be anything more than coach, mentor, untouchable figure. But knowing doesn't stop it, because feelings don't wait for permission. They happen, quietly, insistently, in the spaces between pen scratches and broom sweeps, in glances too quick to name, in silences too heavy to ignore. And in this silence, this night, this gym, Jamin realizes something terrifying. He doesn't just notice Seojun, he wants him, wants the warmth behind the discipline, the softness behind the authority, the man behind the mentor, wants more than he should. The broom slips from his hand, clattering softly against the floor. The sound echoes too loudly, shattering the fragile balance. Jamin bends quickly, heart pounding, to pick it up, muttering, "Sorry," though no apology is needed. From the desk, Seojun glances up again, and this time his gaze lingers. Not long, not enough to name, but long enough for Jamin to feel it burn through him. Long enough for silence to become something else entirely. Something alive, trembling, waiting. The gym is quiet again, but nothing feels the same. It's nothing unusual, nothing worth staring at. And yet Jamin catches himself watching anyway. His broom slows against the floor, the sweeping motions faltering as he takes in the quiet rhythm of Seojun's routine. The tilt of his head, the way he pauses just long enough to think, then resumes writing. Even the sound of his pen, the steady, deliberate strokes, fills the gym with something that feels almost alive. Most people see Seojun as untouchable, strict, the authority no one dares cross, his voice sharp during practice, his eyes sharp enough to catch every mistake on the court. The kind of man built from discipline, from rules etched into his very bones. But Jamin has noticed the other side, the side that picks up forgotten water bottles, setting them neatly aside instead of kicking them out of the way. The side that lingers by the exit, waiting for the last student to leave safely before locking up. The side that gives a tired player just enough rest to save their pride, as if kindness could be slipped through the cracks of authority unnoticed. It's that side that keeps Jamin here, not for recognition, not for praise, but because, in these rare moments, when the world outside the gym feels far away, he feels seen. The broom glides again, bristles whispering against wood. The silence between sweep stretches, filled with the faint scratch of Seojun's pen. Two sounds in harmony, simple, steady, grounding. And then, almost imperceptibly, Seojun shifts. His eyes flick up from the clipboard. Not a full look, not long enough to catch, but enough. Enough for Jamin to know he isn't invisible, that his presence hasn't gone unnoticed. Heat rushes to his cheeks, though there's no reason for it. He looks away quickly, focuses on the floor, as if dust alone deserves his undivided attention. The broom slides across a spotless stretch, useless, but necessary to keep his hands busy, to keep his thoughts from spiraling. Because thoughts, they're dangerous here. Dangerous when the gym feels like a world of its own, when silence makes every glance louder, every breath heavier, when being shoulder to shoulder with someone like Seojun feels both impossible and inevitable. Still here? The voice cuts through the stillness, low, even, carried not by volume but by presence. Jamin startles, gripping the broom tighter. "Yes, coach, just finishing up." Seojun leans back in his chair, stretching slightly, his gaze steady. "You don't have to stay every night, you know. The janitor comes in the morning. I don't mind." Jamin's voice is quiet, almost swallowed by the vastness of the gym. He swallows. It feels better to leave it clean. Seojun studies him for a moment, and Jamin can't read the expression. Not stern, not amused. Something else. Something in between. An uncommittal sound, but it lingers, as though it carries more weight than it should. Jamin lowers his gaze, sweeps again. Back and forth. Back and forth. The rhythm steadies his heartbeat, though the silence that follows feels different now, charged as if something unseen hangs between them. The clock on the wall ticks, the broom moves, the pen scratches again, minutes blur. And yet, Jamin feels each second like it's stretched thin, strung taut across something fragile. He pauses to gather dust near the baseline, crouching slightly, and when he glances up, just briefly, he sees Seojun watching again. Not openly, not indulgently, just watching. Their eyes meet for half a breath before Jamin looks away, pulse pounding. It shouldn't mean anything, a coach watching his player clean, a mentor ensuring things are done properly. That's all it should be. But in the quiet, it feels like more, like every glance is a question neither of them dares to voice. The broom stills. Jamin straightens slowly, fingers tightening around the handle. The air feels heavier than before, thick enough to press against his lungs. He wants to speak, to break the tension, but his voice catches. So he stays silent, and Seojun lets him. The world narrows, the glow of the lights, the gleam of the polished floor, the sound of their breathing filling the empty gym. Two figures in a space too big, too hollow, and yet too close. Seojun's pen falls silent. He sets it down with deliberate care, the faint click of it against the desk, startling in its clarity. Then he leans back, gaze fixed, not on the clipboard, not on the court, but on Jamin. The weight of it is almost unbearable. Jamin shifts, pretending to sweep again, though the broom barely moves. His throat is dry, words caught there, unsaid. Because what could he possibly say? That the gym feels less like a duty and more like a sanctuary when Seojun is there. That the silence between them isn't empty but full of things he doesn't have the courage to name. That sometimes love doesn't ask for permission. It just waits, patient, quiet, lingering like dust in the air, unseen but impossible to ignore. And maybe that's why he doesn't leave. Because leaving would mean stepping out of this fragile balance, out of this quiet where belonging feels real, even if only for a night. Because staying, even in silence, feels like enough. For now, it starts small, a ball that rolls too far, a correction in posture, a quiet voice behind him. Your grip is too tight, Seojun says one evening, stepping closer. His hand hovers just above Jamin's wrist, not quite touching, but close enough that the warmth radiates. Relax. You're fighting the ball instead of moving with it. Jamin swallows. His pulse stutters. He nods, adjusting, though the adjustment has less to do with the ball and more to do with the way his coach's voice slides into his chest like heat. Other days, it's silence. Parallel moments where they exist in the same space without words. Jamin sweeping the floor, Seojun flipping through playbooks, the scrape of bristles on wood and the shuffle of papers forming a rhythm that feels almost intimate. And then the shift begins. Jamin notices it first in glances, the way Seojun's eyes linger a little too long when Jamin bends to pick up a ball, the way his jaw tightens whenever another student throws an arm too casually around Jamin's shoulder. At first, Jamin tells himself he's imagining it. Coaches don't look at students that way, but the looks keep coming, and soon they're followed by something else. One evening, after everyone has gone, Jamin is stacking chairs when Seojun speaks. You don't have to do this every day, he says. I don't mind, Jamin replies. That's not the point. The words hang heavy. Jamin's fingers curl around the back of the chair. Then why do you let me stay? Seojun doesn't answer, not right away. He steps closer instead, until the space between them is thin enough to feel. Maybe because I don't mind either. The air thickens. From then on, everything feels different. A hand brushing his when passing a ball, a shoulder lingering against his a beat too long, a gaze that flickers downward, toward lips neither of them mentions. For Jaemin, it's confusion tangled with desire. For Seo-jun, it's restraint pulling at the seams. The lines blur between student and coach, between discipline and something far less professional. And yet, neither of them pulls away. Dramatic pause. Because sometimes, the closer you are to breaking the rules, the harder it is to remember why they exist in the first place. On-screen text. Forbidden love. Yaoi romance. BL story. It happens one night. The gym is empty. The clock ticks past 9 p.m. Jaemin is gathering stray balls when the echo of the door closing signals they are alone. Seo-jun stands by the exit, one hand on the handle, but he doesn't leave. Instead, he turns the lock. The sound is soft, final. Jaemin freezes. Coach? His voice cracks. Seo-jun steps closer, his expression unreadable, caught between control and surrender. His words are low, almost a whisper. You make it very hard to pretend. Jaemin's chest tightens. His hands tremble against the ball in his grip. Pretend what? Seo-jun exhales, sharp, as though the weight of months crashes out of him in one breath. That I don't notice you. That I don't think about you after hours. That I don't... He stops himself. His jaw clenches. The silence that follows is electric. Jaemin takes a step closer, then another, until the ball slips from his fingers and rolls away, forgotten. Then stop pretending, he whispers. And when Seo-jun finally closes the distance, when his hand cups the back of Jaemin's neck and his lips crash against his, everything shatters. The rules, the silence, the careful distance they kept. All of it dissolves into a kiss that tastes like both desperation and relief. After that night, nothing is the same. They don't speak of it in the open. They can't. But in the way their eyes find each other during practice, in the quiet moments after the gym empties, in the subtle touches no one else notices, something has changed. For Jaemin, it's terrifying. For Seo-jun, it's dangerous. And yet, for both of them, it feels inevitable. Because sometimes love doesn't wait for permission. Sometimes it doesn't follow rules. It simply happens. In a locked gym, between a student who feels invisible and a coach who can't look away. And maybe that's what makes it real. On-screen text. BL manhwa, gay love story, forbidden romance. What do you think, viewers? Was this story heartwarming, heartbreaking, or maybe a little of both? Comment below with one word that captures how you feel. Sweet, emotional, forbidden, or romantic. And don't forget, subscribe for more BL webtoon love stories, yaoi manhwa breakdowns, and LGBTQ romance tales. Check the description for more BL recommendations.